We got the first video up here on the mountain. If anyone can take a guess on where this is, not gonna give it away, but it's pretty obviously laid out city. So I just spent the past 10 minutes recording a video for this, and I guess I pressed stop. So I've just been talking to my phone without doing any recording. Hope I'm coming in okay in terms of my audio. Not blocking it up. It's not too windy. So hello, everyone who's watching this. This is going to be a YouTube video initially, but it might show up maybe Facebook, other places. Haven't really decided yet. But right now, this is a very important moment for me and for this project, which is called the Project Eden Covenant. And I've decided that today, the spring equinox, we're right in the morning here. Can't quite see the sunrise yet, which just happened a few minutes ago. And we have the exact equinox point happening in about 20 minutes. And I'm excited to be here. I haven't scripted anything at all. I simply have a topic to start off with this very first video. Originally, I wanted to do live streams for these, but setting up a new account, you need like a certain number of followers. So I can't stream. I'm going to have to do recordings for the first little bit here until I get some followers. But yeah, my name is Jeffrey. I'm out here on the mountain, and I'm going to be doing videos and live streams at the sunrise. I'm going to talk about stuff. What am I going to be talking about? Well, the Project Eden Covenant can be described a few different ways. You could say that it's a philosophy. You could say that it's a framework. You could say it's a moral framework. You could say it's a cognitive framework. There's a lot of ways you can describe this, and you'd be correct in many number of them. But in the way that I like to describe this is it's about a global community helping to cultivate a global community. So I'll start with that premise. You know, I can't be the only one who looks at events that happen in the world or examples of human behavior where we treat each other a certain way, a nasty way, an unloving way, a non-understanding way. And I've always felt this dissonance with it, not to think, oh, you're mean, but I think of it in terms of people have the capacity for community. People have the capacity for holding goodwill to each other, to pause that emotional impulse and to be present and to be mature. That's what it is, maturity. And there's so many examples where I look at how things work or how things are playing out, and I think, man, we're better than this. You know, there's something very mysterious about how much capacity we have for love and compassion and goodwill, but how rare it is that that is the default. But I think we're getting there. I think we are growing in the right direction, and global community is really the premise that this entire thing goes after. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, what is the Project Eden Covenant? What is this string of words? Covenant? What the fuck? There might be a little bit of swearing. Sorry, guys. So I guess I got some time. I can give some backstory. A few years ago, I had a pretty big emotional fallout. It was professional related. I'll go into that later. But I took some time off work, and I was deep in the depression hole. And right into that leave, a good friend of mine had taken his own life, um, and so that added to it. And I was in a dark place. um, and somehow in that dark place, I went to a very philosophical, existential sort of place in terms of what does this all mean? What does it mean to be a human? What do we need to to have enough? I was asking these kinds of questions. And what happened to me was I had this very vivid flash, a revelation, even. Um, a lot of information came to me all at once. It was a very strange download of creativity, and a pretty important message came to me, not just for me personally, but what I think is necessary for the world to move forward on our next path of growth. It's an inner shift. And this awareness is already out there, but a certain way to describe this wisdom, uh, it was very specific. So basically, what it is, global community is the goal, right? But it asks, what's in the way? What? How do we cultivate it? How do we move towards that global community? And what came to me was the metaphor of a garden. There's so much power in this metaphor. And it can be described, there's a symbol that you're probably seeing on the profile picture, if it's the YouTube or wherever this is posted. You should see a water drop that has a line through it, and the right half is filled, and the left half is either white or see-through. And so those two sides of that water drop symbolize a very important responsibility. And it really comes down to, enlightenment, whatever that is really nothing more than a person waking up that they are a gardener and they have a garden to take care of. Now, the right half of that water drop symbolizes the nourishment of that garden, the soil, the plants, the sunlight, and the water, making sure those four things are nourished, right? The soil being your physical needs, nourishing your body, your health and safety, cultivating those things. The plants are your creative self-expression, so expressing yourself creatively, whatever that may be. The gardener gets to choose their plants, but they cultivate the plants they choose. Sunlight, that's your learning, intellectual growth. And the water, that's the emotional capacity. That's love, that's care, that's compassion, that's giving. That's the real nourishment, is providing water, just like you're watering a plant. Is that not care? I think that's the word, care, that symbolizes this whole thing, this whole project. Now, the left half of the water drop, now this is where things get interesting. So, the left half represents the removal of something. And like a garden, there's something that comes up called weeds. Weeds can grow up and they invade, they take over in a garden. And how does that look in terms of our metaphorical garden? Well, a weed is anything that grows up that causes a limit or a blockage or a starvation of the four needs that I covered. The four garden hungers, I guess you could say. So what does a weed do? It, first of all, it grows up automatically. It invades, it takes up space, it takes up soil, drinks up water, blocks sunlight. It takes away from the health of the garden. And if you think about that in psychology, that's our reactive side. That's our emotional. Think about when you get behind the wheel of a car. This is a really good way to think about weeds. If you hop in the car and someone cuts you off, there's that emotional reaction of, you jerk. That's a weed because you don't have any goodwill towards them. That's water. Now, this is a tricky one, though, because when it comes to weeds are plants, and that sort of nourishes the need for self-expression. Think of politics, how powerful that is to jump in and rah. I'm not saying politics is completely pointless, but there's a lot of weeds in politics, particularly. And you could say that when people are fired up, they're not learning all that much. When people are fired up, they might not be providing goodwill and compassion and love to the other side. That's the really big signature of whether a weed is present or not. It's the absence of goodwill. And so how does this pertain to global community? You're talking about weeds and all. What? How does this piece together? So it is a good deal nuanced, but I think the most important thing to think of is we aren't making this distinction enough. There needs to be a whole lot more inner guidance going on than we're currently operating, myself included. This is a personal practice, but it's also a social practice. So what is the practice? The water drop symbolizes, think about watering a plant, care and nourishment. Care and nourishment to the nourishment of our hungers, our four hungers, and the removal of weeds. The problem is that people water their weeds. And I do this all the time. I'm in a spot in my life where it has been very easy to allow my weeds to just be. But those are your resentments. Those are your emotions of contempt, of shame, whether that's directed at someone else or at yourself. It's those costly attitudes, those costly emotions. If you think of it this way, if Project Eden were successful in helping move the planet towards a more community-based mindset, a community-based paradigm, then the way I would measure that is everybody has everyone else's back. Now think about that. Imagine waking up and everyone has your back. Everyone. And it's not just some fake performative thing that we often see where people have smiles, but it's empty, especially in the private sector. It'd be a very different world if not just the people, but the systems, our institutions actually had your back. These are what we get frustrated at when we look at, say, a corporate greed or a company that's doing things that are selfish. They were screwing some people over. They were ignoring fundamental needs of people. So imagine if we had a world where we had needs first, because right now it's profit first, and we have, for some reason, equated profit to needs. there's a philosophy the world is running on right now where it's like, oh, we made a lot of profit, so we satisfied someone's needs, so we're making needs better, so profit is equates to needs. But there's a missing piece there in the sense that profit's profit. Having a needs-based society is people first. Is that relational nectar, that goodness, that tether that binds people together. Because we have a lot of the opposites. So, yeah, I don't actually have the time in front of me here, but we should be reaching the equinox right about now. I don't know if you guys can hear the birds. My hair is all kinds of messy. Ooh. I do not look nice on this first stream. I'm waking up, I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm doing the work. I was gonna make this a stream, but last minute Twitch says you gotta get your phone number on here, and I put my phone number in and it just doesn't. So this is gonna be a vlog, and yeah, unedited. I'm gonna do it this way, I think. So yeah, that's the synopsis. You've got the water drop symbol that symbolizes care and nourishment. The right half being the nourishment of your four needs, your physical needs, your creative needs, your learning needs, and your love needs. So those are the four things you need to nourish. But then your weeds, anything that takes away from those. So anything that takes away from your physical health, your safety, your creativity, your learning, or your love. And that last one, that's a big one. Think about this. If you're like, oh, I don't have any weeds, I'm a good gardener. Think about, is there anyone on the planet Earth that you think doesn't deserve your goodwill? That's a tough one because we all do. We all run into, oh, that guy, fuck that guy. You know, we run into that so often. It's easy to slip into there, especially if it's practiced. If it's a routine thing in the brain, it can be easy to slip into that. But it's really just about mindfulness. You notice your weeds, and then just don't feed them. Really, the username of Project Eden is needs over weeds. So it's favor your needs. What are the nourishing needs, and what are the weeds that are reactive? Because think about a weed. A weed grows up automatically. You don't plant a weed. A weed grows up out of nowhere. The problem is that people water their weeds. You know, they feel this nasty, F you, feels good, right? It has like sort of there's a slight nourishing quality to it. The problem is that it's like junk food. It might taste good, but it doesn't have that much nutrients in it. It doesn't actually nourish. So it has the feeling of nourishment, but if you think about resentment, psychologically, there's no value. There's something to be said about being upset or being agitated or emotional about something. But to be resentful, to have contempt, like these are toxic, heavy, costly emotions that don't have any value. So if anything, the water drop, it helps us to distinguish what are the needs that are deserving of my attention and care and cultivation, and which are the ones, the weeds, that take away. So anything that blocks learning, anything that stops your curiosity, that's very much just sounding like a weed. You know, for a while the word weed seemed to be very much I was trying to wrap my head around the definition of how to put it into words, and for a long time I had the word judgment. Like if you're judging, oh, you're bad. Yeah, there's a weed in there, but a judgment on its own is not a weed on its own, because a judgment can be, I'm making a distinction of something. I'm assessing something. I'm defining something. You can call that a judgment as well. That doesn't have the same emotional venom. Venomous emotion, I think, is a way to describe the weeds. So really that distinction in the water drop symbol is, it encourages us to make correct judgments between what are the things and feelings and beliefs and attitudes that I'm holding that are nourishing, and which are the ones that are not, which of them are starving. And there's a lot of research out there in terms of the psychological research and the literature that something like contempt, we all find ourselves there, or resentment. I think those are some two top weeds. So yeah, that's the framework. How does this relate to global community? Well, we just aren't making that distinction enough. We're watering our weeds. We feel that resentment and we run with it. We feel that contempt and we water it. We feel good about it. We think it's going to help. But it causes more dissonance. If you're going to respond to someone with contempt or resentment or anything that doesn't have goodwill in it, they're going to feel that, and it's going to cause people to put their walls up. It creates that dissonance. It creates that war, that fight, and causes that defensive. Your weeds make their weeds grow, and then their garden is getting taken over by weeds. So it's like, we got to stop this cycle, right? We got to look at conflicts through this perspective to be able to honor somebody that might be doing something harmful or doing something that's maybe not the best, but they're not evil. They've just had some weeds grow up. It's a much healthier way to look at issues. And it invites that space of empathy and understanding. You look at people doing bad things and you go, where are the needs that are unmet? It's all about the nourishment or the malnourishment of needs. Whenever someone does something harmful, that's weed-like behavior. They're starving, probably of water, of emotional nourishment. And that's really the premise of this. I'm not going to make this video too much longer because I know people got a million things to watch on YouTube. And this is honestly really just my kind of, I don't want to call it a practice run. This is the real first video, but goose up there. Honk, honk. Honk. Where are you? I got to bring nature into this more. It's actually really nice up here. Yeah, I have a good dose of ADHD, so there might be some rambling, rantingness. But I suppose in terms of logistics of what this project looks like, I can't do live streams yet because I don't have enough followers on YouTube. So the first few are going to have to be videos. But just in terms of the sequencing of things, I'm going to be doing a stream on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday is going to be mindfulness, Wednesday is going to be wellness, and Friday is going to be philosophy. So Monday, mindfulness is really just about self-mastery. Wednesday is about the health and wellness side of things. And then Friday is going to be the broader applications to the social order of the world. That's the broader, bigger questions, which takes a bigger philosophical examination. But in 2 days, on Sunday, March 22nd, that's International Water Day. And with water being the symbol of this project, I felt that how universally powerful is it to have that be right at the beginning of this in the spring equinox, that I'm going to do a special Sunday stream with a buddy of mine. I'm going to drive over to his place. We're going to do a video together, so it's not just about me. And yeah, the following week is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's just going to be like that at sunrise every day. I'm going to have to continue doing videos until I have 50, I think it's 50, 100, something like that, followers on YouTube, and then I'm going to do them as streams. So yeah, I just figured that this would be a fantastic, we're pretty much at the equinox here, folks. I don't have any sun. There's no rain either, but I think it's like 7:45. This is a special one, folks. Like if I had to guess, I would say that this equinox that we're experiencing right now could be the start of, call it, the age of Aquarius, I guess. You know, we're in this tipping point where the whole world order is collapsing. Norms are collapsing. We're experiencing a metamorphosis. This is remarkable. Anyone that turns on the news, it's just like, whoa. There's a lot of tragedy, there's a lot of death, and my heart goes out to all the people who are suffering around the world, who are experiencing loss and violence. Well, just some big weeds, massive when it comes to war. But I want to think about things in a forward way, looking at life in a way that's life affirming. And what is more life affirming than gardening? Cultivating literal life is what you're doing when you're gardening. So yeah, Equinox stream, the first day, the first video. I've been hanging on to this for a while now. This idea, this project. My hair is not orderly today. I'm sorry, folks. I rolled out of bed and I said, I'm doing it today. Spring Equinox 2026. My name is Jeffrey. Thanks for joining. I'm going to elaborate further on the videos coming in the future, but this is the premise. Feed your needs. I almost messed that up. Feed your needs, not your weeds. That's going to be the little catchy little phrase. Feed your needs, not your weeds. It's as simple as that. Feed your needs, not your weeds. I got to stop looking at myself. I got to put like a card or something. There we go. Yep. There we go. Anything else to say? Thank you for watching. If you've watched this whole thing, I have a feeling that my first 10, 20, 100 videos are probably not going to be seen too much, but hey, someone will watch them. Anyway, goodbye, world. I'll see you in a few days. Goodbye.